Welcome back to another episode of the Enthusiast series here at the Whisky Baron. We're here to have a little bit of chat about all things Tullibardine. Now, when I first started getting into whiskey, probably, over a decade ago now, the range was quite small, a lot of no age statement, and then a couple of like very rare releases. The reputation perhaps wasn't the best amongst all single malts, but I think really over the last 4, 5, 6 years, I think that's really started to change. Do you want to talk us through a little bit about the kind of the journey the brand's been on and how you've been able to do that?
Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, we kind of changed hands due to ownership a couple of times prior to being purchased by Terroirs in 2011. And there was a period of 10 years where we were actually mothballed as well. So our inventory is a little bit staggered. So we were working with that to try and do new releases and still establish some form of core range as well. But it was a bit of a patchwork, so we've just had to slowly work at that over a number of years to a point where we've built up our core range and we can now establish older age statement products that we consistently can release year after year.
Yeah, awesome. And one of the first things I remember coming out that was a little bit different is the Murray range. Mm-hmm. So that's generally, is it always finishes, the Murray range?
Sometimes we do bourbon as well. But it's generally at 46%, and it's generally for the past two editions anyway. It's been a finish. We've had the Chateauneuf, and we did the triple port previous to that.
Yeah, I mean, I just tried the Chateauneuf, fantastic. Had a bottle of the triple port as well, also really, really good as well. They are definitely worth checking out, and also I think like they are very reasonable prices for what you're getting as well. They're both around about £65 a bottle. Mm-hmm. And then I think after that, you know, you've now started to have some more kind of age-stated stuff work its way back in as well. So we've got the 15-year-old in front of us. And I mean, I have to say, the 15-year-old, really fancy packaging for a 15-year-old as well. The kind of artwork on the front of it, again, a kind of etched style is really beautiful. And when was that released?
That was 2018.
2018, okay. And then there's an 18-year-old that's been released a bit more recently as well into the core range. In 2023. Brilliant. Okay, well, let's maybe have a little sip on the 15-year-old whilst we're having a chat about the distillery and what's going on. So tell me a little bit more about the 15-year-old.
So the 15-year-old is quite special and it's very popular for us. It kind of highlights what Tullibardine is about, and it really highlights our exceptional profile. So it's all first fill bourbon. Everything that we do for our core range anyway goes into first fill bourbon and matures for the entire maturation in first fill. It's not recast, it doesn't start off in refills, and then we do a finish in bourbon. If someone's new to the brand, I tend to guide them towards the 15-year-old. As I say, it does really highlight what our profile is, and it's a bit of a gateway, I would say, into the brand.
Yeah,
into Tullibardine.
It's interesting because, you know, I said when I first kind of became aware of Tullibardine, I said you'd kind of known for the no age statement, the finishes, lots of different types of casks being used. Obviously, with the kind of ownership structure as well, you've got access to so many fantastic casks as well. And we're going to be trying lots of other kind of finishes and maturations whilst we're having this chat. But, you know, I think it's always great to have a product that is 100% bourbon as well for the people that really want to kind of try and understand the spirit. And being here at the distillery, being able to have a quick sip on the new make spirit earlier as well. It's really fruity, very, very drinkable, almost dangerously so. And it's fascinating to then come and a couple of hours later try the 15-year-old as well, because that crisp, juicy fruitiness really kind of shines through with it as well. It's something that I guess that I'm probably quite unfamiliar with, because a lot of my experience with Tullibardine has been a lot of these kind of finishes, the Murrays, and, you know, they are a little bit more cask driven, and it's kind of what you're known for. But, you know, I think people should really go and check this out as well, right? Understand what the distillery DNA is like, whilst also checking out some of the other products as well. Yeah,
it's definitely understated, but it's really exceptional. I can see why people would maybe pass by it and go to our finishes like the Chateauneuf or any other single cask editions. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a gem that needs a bit more focus.
Because then even the 18 as well. The 18 is a mixture of
Sherry,
bourbon and sherry. Yeah,
yes, so it's
perfect.
25-75. That was a product that, on its inception, the idea behind it was that the sherry would influence rather than be a sherry bomb in terms of in the same kind of vein as our 500 sherry finish from the core range. So we landed on the 75-25 ratio.
Cool. And I mean, that's really interesting. When you are talking about that, obviously, you know, your job is blending. Like, how many iterations did you go through to kind of land on that? And was that always your aim to have it kind of less sherry focused?
Yeah, that was always the initial plan, I would say. And then, so that was actually initiated before I started here. So I kind of came in, I would say, a third of the way through, and then I just kind of executed it in terms of the blend. And so I've established a panel here of people that I trust really well. They have really good noses.
Cool. And I know obviously we've now been talking a little bit about more kind of straight up bourbon matured Tullibardine, but obviously a lot of people and a lot of the fans are here for some of the kind of finishes as well, and some of the different wine casks, etc., that you guys have got access to. Yeah. It's always really interesting to then kind of have that conversation about, you know, why make the trip up? Why would you come and visit Tullibardine, other than the fact that it is a lovely place in a beautiful part of the country, with a lovely tour? You've got a number of distillery exclusives as well. And some of those are single casks. Some of those are handfills as well. So let's maybe have a chat about some of those whilst trying them. So next up, I think we've got a orange wine cask, right? I've had an orange wine once or twice. Yeah. Tell me about it. It's something that I know virtually nothing about.
Yeah. I think in the whiskey industry as a whole, it's not very well known either. We decided to do this because it was not something that we'd seen much of, and you know, we want to try and be innovative and try out different things. And yeah, the orange wine became available to us, so we thought it might work quite well with our profile. So orange wine, back up a little bit, orange wine is, it relates to the colour, relates to the hue rather than the actual profile of the spirit. So what happens is during the process of the orange wine making, they leave the seeds in, which gives it that colour and that tannic profile as well. So we used some of our spirit from 2008 and we recast it last June. And surprisingly with the spirit, when we do a finish, generally we do leave it about 6 months, but for our single cask editions, they can get sometimes upwards of 4 years in terms of a finish. But this profile developed so quickly. We could have done it at 3 months, wow, really. Okay. The translation of the orange wine cask into the spirit I came across very, very quickly. We did it at 6 months. We thought it was ready to go. The profile was where we wanted it to be. So yeah, a little bit confusing on the name. A lot of people expect to have a lot of orange on the nose. For me, it's more, you do get a citrus note to it. There's a little bit of marmalade in there, but it's not overpowering at all. Yeah,
I guess, yeah, as you're saying, with orange wine, this is something that I know virtually nothing about. It's white grapes, presumably, with the seeds in it.
Yes. Yeah. So what I've read from my reading of it, it's described as a full-bodied white wine.
Yep. And Italian? Or
it can be, and it can also be Croatian as well.
Also be Croatian?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know where the casks were from for this one?
I don't know if I can say actually.
Okay, that's fine. No, because I know with some of them, obviously, you guys are, it's part of like your DNA that you're able, because of the ownership, to be able to say and give so much more information, which again, I think is fascinating for a lot of the whiskey geeks out there. But if you can't, that's fine. Don't worry about it. So this one, single cask, 51.9%. And this one just available either here at the distillery or on the distillery web shop, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Cool. Do you know how much this one is at the distillery shop?
I'm going to refer to Ross here. 125.
125. Cool. So this is a 2008 vintage and it's 16 years old when it was bottled.
We'll go with 16, yeah.
Obviously not the only thing that you can get here. I saw there's a very fancy looking 31-year-old single cask that's sat in the shop as well. Yep. And then there's also a choice of 2 different handfills that are available as well. So do you want to talk us through those just quickly?
Yeah, so the 31-year-old was basically an anniversary edition that we did. And that's quite special because it started off its life in bourbon, and then in 2016 we re-racked it into a virgin oak cask. So obviously we've laid down that really lovely caramel, butterscotch, brown sugar, bourbon profile.
Yeah.
And then with the re-racking into the virgin, we've really, I would say, amplified that bourbon profile. It's surprisingly, I know a lot of your viewers will know what virgin oak does to spirit, and it can be quite astringent, quite tannin on the palate, but this is none of those things. It's very smooth, it's very creamy, and very enjoyable.
All right, let's have a try this handfill.
Okay.
So, Condru.
Condru.
I'm feeling like an idiot. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, as with the orange wine, it's a bit of an unknown for a lot of people, and it was a bit of an unknown for people here as well. So the Condru, should I say, it's a really, really small appellation in Northern Rhone. So it's a white wine again, and we decided to go with this for our second edition of the handful. So this was a bit of a interesting one for us because it's 2012.
Yeah.
So the cask strength of this was 63.9.
Wow.
Quite strong. But I think, as you'll see on the palate, it's very, very comfortable to drink, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
You do not get any alcohol burn at all. It's just pure taste.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is more a question for many. Obviously, a lot of distilleries fill into cask at 63.5%.
Yeah.
Clearly, when this is at 63.9%, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you fill in a kind of filling strength? Or?
I mean, I wasn't here at the time. I can only assume because we were bought over in 2012, and then this was filled in 2020. There would obviously be a settling in period, I'd imagine, of a couple of years. So possibly any cask that they could get a hold of, they were running it off the stills and filling it 69%. I would imagine they were filling it at 69% for it to now be 63. And I'm assuming that they've come across a parcel of Condru casks and thought, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's get them, let's fill them. And here we are.
So again, this is a maturation rather than a finish.
Full maturation.
Full maturation.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, so it's 2012 and it's new make spirits that's gone into these casks. So it's not finished, it's just fully matured in Condru.
That's fantastic. It's not the last whiskey that we're going to be trying today, though. As we often try and do here at the Whiskey Baron when we have these conversations, it's always good to try and talk about a bit of what's coming next as well. I think that's especially important, I think, for a brand like Tullibardine, where we've been talking a little bit about your journey, your growth, and kind of getting back into the minds of a lot of the single malt drinkers. You've got some other exciting things coming up. So can you give us a few spoilers of what we can expect over the coming weeks and months?
Our next iteration of our single cask series is going to be a Calvados cask. So this spirit is from 2007 and it was recast in 2023. So the reasoning behind the Calvados cask, because obviously it's an apple brandy, and as we found with the Tully 15-year-old, the comments and the tasting notes that we get from that a lot, and I find myself, are very appley, baked apple, stewed apple. So that was the thought process behind it, basically. Could our profile lend itself quite well to a Calvados profile?
More apples.
Similar to like a conduit or a conduit food pairing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it took its time, the Calvados. Very unlike the orange wine that was very quick to finish in the 6 months. This, as I say, was recast in 2023, so it's taken a good 18 months to get there, but it's definitely where we want it to be now.
What's interesting to me is the palate. It's not it's not too much. I've had a couple of Calvados finishes before where it is just a overload of apple. Yeah. And, it's like it's like someone's taken a little bit of Calvados and a little bit of whiskey, poured them together and mixed them around with a spoon. And it kind of doesn't feel super well integrated.
Yeah, and married together.
And married together, exactly.
Yeah.
And this feels really nicely judged.
Feels
No,
quite
natural.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this will be approximately 55% as well.
So the Calvados, we've got an ABV, so 55.6 currently, so be around that in the bottle. Obviously, it might change a little bit.
Yep.
£145 for a 17-year-old single cask. That seems quite reasonable to me. Again, there are many distilleries who I think are asking quite a lot more than that for official single casks of that kind of age. Yep. What else? Go on. What else can I squeeze out of you?
We've got some quite interesting sherry casks
that
we recently purchased. We have got some interesting, cask. We've got some interesting cask strength additions that we don't generally do for this market or indeed ever before. And that links back into our maturing inventory and how much stock we've been laying down over the years, and it's very consistent. We're at a point now where it's very consistent and we can routinely bottle.
Right. So Little Birdie told me that they're likely to be a 12-year-old cask strength this year. And so actually part of that process has not just been about getting one ready for this year, but getting the stock ready for future years as well, so you can have it consistently.
We're very reactive, I would say, in terms of our customer base, and we take that feedback on board and see if we can do that expression or that product. But as I say, it comes back to inventory management, and it all comes down to LE and what you actually have in cask. So if we can do it, we will definitely look at it and see what we can do. But we're routinely laying down spirit here quite consistently, 3 million litres of alcohol a year. So if not now, one day.
Perfect. I mean, I'm sure you're massively underplaying your own influence and how you look at those casks and do kind of all that blending process as well. Not just the custodians, you are kind of the custodian of it. But that's been a really fantastic kind of journey through where Tully's been on over the last few years, through some of the things that are available, particularly exclusively at the shop, and a bit of what's coming next as well. Stacey, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing these delicious whiskies with us as well.
You're welcome.
And to you guys at home, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.